there we are in the area I want to build a modular reactor. As shown in the last video, I need bauxite, limestone, crystals, and all that stuff is around here. So it looks very nice. Even coal is here, so there's a water node. That is the area I really want to go for. Let's have a look. It is this green area. So if you go for this area, you definitely should have your guns ready, because there are lots of animals on the ground. And especially if you expand, then your resource taken a little bit to the joint tree area. You better have also your biofuel for your jetpack, because there are quite a few fights ahead of you. But that area here is extremely beneficial if it comes to the mix of resources. So I want to try, but be aware, this video reflects a learning curve. It is not done in perfection. And at the end I will show you a few more options of how you can improve the whole thing for yourself. So I show you here my ride into the story of modular reactors, what I found, so that you can use those findings as a base for yourself. But then really at the end of the day, it's up to you to improve. That's, by the way, the outcome of my little build of a modular reactor with the given mods, upside down mod and decoration. So I try to integrate it a little bit into the vegetation that I found. And I reckon that works very well, especially if you come in a bit more higher from the air. It looks quite natural. That's quite cool. So as always, it starts with a flat platform. I was very optimistic about the size. It got all a little bit bigger. And I placed the modular reactor foundation. You've seen that already in the last video. But then, in the last video I gave up when I noticed I need bauxite, because I was in a complete different area. But here all is there, so let's go for it. So if I Google a bit, I find a modding documentation done by the authors, obviously, which did this modular reactors, and it says something about it's important to look in the MAM. Okay, so MAM is obviously important. That will unlock all the stuff that I do need. Okay, so it is not enough just to go for milestones and hope for the best. No, we need to go for the MAM. And the MAM there should allow us to do water and reactor coolant. Okay. The first step was some thorium. Thorium had one disadvantage. I'm dying quickly. So the moment I take it out of the pocket, I'm a goner, because I do not have a gas mask yet. So before I do anything, I have to build a gas mask. Now, where is it? Dupty-dupty-die. And then building the stuff. Come on, gas mask. There it was. And gas filters, yes. And these filters afterwards become the nice infused filters. That's what you need when you go with radioactivity in the game. And having that on me enables me now to start the first milestone. Hey, so proud about it. Yeah, basic stuff, you would know it for sure. But it took me some time to understand why I dropped that all the time when I tried the first step of this MAM line for modular reactors. Next one, fuel automation. Okay. Let's try that. I'm missing some materials. Okay. I'm looking for it. There we see. Yeah, I need a blender. Okay. Liquid tritium, liquid deuterium. Okay, that seems to be more specific. It is somewhere around there. Sulfuric acid is something we know already. Limestone's cool too. So I can live with that, and the T-blend will be bauxite, limestone, and water. That's an easy peasy one. So first of all, I went for my big beautiful belt. You know the station here already, that's why I'm adding just some coal onto the road so the trucks don't drop dead by running out of fuel. And here I did a filter for heavy frames and built a conveyor belt all the way through the joint tree area down to the south to our platform. Long way. It is such a long conveyor belt. Yeah. And finally it arrived at the platform. Because I thought, I may have to build this in all the time, so let's automate it. Which, as it turns out later, was not the smartest idea. So I get my heavy modular frames, and now I need a few crystals, and then I can build the stuff that I need, the advanced reactor casing. Crystals are nearby. Be aware of some spiders in that area. And again, a quite long conveyor belt. And now I have the two ingredients ready. I set up the assembler. It gets both resources and it spits me out my advanced reactor casing. With that, I get enough reactor casings to proceed in the MAM. And now I need DT Reactor Cores. They again are done by the blender. Aha. Liquid deuterium. Come on, it's what we just had. Bauxite, limestone, water, yeah. That should be alright. And liquid tritium, sulfuric acid, and limestone. Can't deal with that. Refinery, okay. So, sulfur. That's all a bit away. So yeah, I'm in the middle of everything, yeah, but I'm still quite far away from some of the resources I need to see here all the way from the source. I want to get the sulfur. Of course, there are quite a few. And I get the water, like I show you here, from the water node via fracking. So here comes my sulfur, my water. As always, when it comes to liquid, I do the water tower concept, pump it up into big storage, and from there it can flow downstream into the machinery wherever I need it. Only that ensures that I have an equal flow and availability of liquids. Okay, the blenders are up and running, the refineries are up and running. So the platform is filled slowly, step by step. And if you have an eagle eye, you already notice I expanded the platform in north and southern direction already. Production is running nice. And the two liquids are then in a blender massage together. Into the DT blend, which is then pumped into DT reactor cores, which are advanced reactor casings filled with the DT blend, and that gives me the DT reactor cores. Cool. With that, I have material that I can use again for another milestone. Sorry, not milestone, MAM. Let's pick up some. And just keep in mind, at this stage I had no idea what I'm doing. I'm just running blind into this. Modular reactors, there we are. I can start the research. Dumpty dumpty dum. And there we have our fuel automation. Cool. Now for water cooling it wants packaged water. And steam conversion. Already one later finding up front, I will repeat it a few times. You've seen steam conversion. Even if you don't do any steam afterwards, you need to do the steam conversion here in the MEM, otherwise you can't launch your reactor. So the full MEM tree needs to be done. Does not matter if you need it or not. You must do the full MEM tree before you really can launch your reactor. Good, here comes the coolant production. Coolant powder with a manufacturer. I got 100 out of it. With that, I can launch my MEM tree on the left for advanced cooling. Ka-ching. That'll be nice. And steam conversion. Yeah, no idea what for. And that time I thought, well, why bother? High pressure steam, empty canisters. Do I really have to? I don't want to. So I happily ignored this for some time. Just linked my DT cores, my DT reactor cores in the reactor, and then I checked steam, it mentioned steam. Maybe I need, like we had it for the coal plants, steam release there. So I attached that and thought, give it a go, let's have a look. And what I saw is I got now 2 pipeline symbols, which I did not have before, to water and reactor coolant. Water and reactor coolant are still empty, even while water and reactor coolant is attached. So having it all attached and up and running, this platform filled quite nicely. And I can tell you already that the coolant production was not sufficient as such. So just 2 refineries is not doing the job. So 1 refinery for cloudy coolant, 1 refinery for reactor coolant. That is not sufficient. I had to pimp it up a little bit. I'm feeding it with water. So now the reactor theoretically, based on my knowledge that I had gained so far, should have everything available. The output from the reactor coolant was not really impressive. So, So I pimped that one, and I gave it some summer sloop to duplicate the output. And that still seemed not to do the full swing. I had to do the same way for the cloudy coolant, giving it some summer sloop. But I did not need to pimp it up that much. I placed here just 1 industrial storage for buffer purposes. I love buffering stuff. Not just to have a better flow, but also it helps me to understand if I have a shortening or not of material. And yeah, I would love to launch something, but there's not much going on here. Keep in mind, I still had not finished at that point in time the whole MEM tree of modular reactors, because I thought, I'm not doing steam, why should I bother? And the manual didn't tell me much neither. So I'm going for another milestone called superconductivity. which comes after the milestones for modular reactors, which is an interesting approach. And it turned out that that is quite relevant. So I played a bit more with the steamy side. I thought maybe I can go for real steam production then and set up something a bit more big. Yeah. Getting some high pressure canisters. That was enough to produce some high pressure canisters, but it was not enough to spin the energy production with the steam in the background. But with that, I finally had my stuff together to do the milestone in the MEM. This little guy. Turns out that one is really important. So even if you don't have steam in mind, because you think, oh, I'm not doing steam energy afterwards, the modular reactor should do enough. No, you still need to do this one to be sure that you can really launch the modular reactor. And something will change. Let's have a look in the menu. Yeah, that one did not change. I have one list. At that point in time I had no idea why are the other ones there. Here I got now 3 green dots. Didn't have that before. Yeah, can't press the button yet, but you can see if I turn it on here, we have now a third pipe in the symbol, the hot steam one, which wasn't there before I finished the MEM. That menu still looks the same, and since I pressed now the button to kick it all off, I kick-started, I prepped it, like described in the user manual. And then after you prepped it, you press the launch button. And now is the question, how much do I balance this? It's by default at something like 100. Water goes through, reactor coolant. And my experience on this stage was that the consumption of reactor coolant went always nicely up. I went again for the modding documentation, which I have my doubts if that's really up to date. And it's not really self-explaining to me. I mean, what are the different cubic meter statements there? Why do I have a clock percentage and reactor percentage? Why is this different? No idea. That is my current production. It's about 40 and a bit. There's one refinery. I get something about, at the moment, about 64,000 megawatt overall in the game. I did punch in some augmenters. If you have found a few SummerSloop, you definitely should try those. Because not just that each of them is adding 500 megawatt, they're also adding 10%, and that is quite something. That means the more energy you produce, the more extra you get. That's pretty cool. Yeah, and then I found another one. Modular Reactor better shielding. Turns out that was quite relevant, because without that, my coolant consumption went up and up and up in the reactor, and then it made bang, and the reactor did stop. And with the better shielding, I was able to stabilize my cooling consumption. So if I'm going here for modular reactor stuff, then here reactor cooling, and I can replace now the shielding with an MK3 one. And that was very important, because before it crashed all the time for me. And only after I replaced the shielding with the MK3 shielding from this further milestone, which again is way behind all the others, only then my coolant consumption stabilized and it did not crash constantly anymore. So I reduced it as in the manual to 10%, launch this thing, press the button, prepping, prep. Now we're in the green, and after it reaches the green we can press the button, switching, and it starts running. And once more, only after I got some milestone that delivers me the MK3 shielding, I was able to have a stable cooling consumption. Otherwise it just grew and grew and grew until there wasn't enough cooling and the whole thing just bang, did freeze. Yep. On the side note, I noticed that this funny thingy there where there's a box where I can put in stuff is actually where stuff gets out of the reactor. So it is consuming DT reactor cores and then spits out them empty as advanced reactor casing. What you've just seen there is I was able then to link the advanced reactor casings which got spit out by the reactor into the pipe of new advanced reactor casings to be filled again with the T blend to become DT reactor core. In other words, you can recycle your output. And that works so well that I can tell you the whole thing with the automation of my advanced reactor casing was not necessary. So all this conveyor belt building for crystals and for bringing in the heavy modular frames was absolutely not necessary. If you go for that, it is enough if you just punch some storage behind your assembler, throw in there by hand enough crystals and enough heavy modular frames to do the kick-off amount of advanced reactor casings, and then just run that amount in the loop through the reactor. There's no need to have it fully automated. So with that, the whole thing grew a little bit in that area. Here again, the fracking of the water, very handy. So fracking water gives you quite a bit of water, very nice. So the water nodes are something cool. Highly appreciated. And you see my favorite thing, the radar towers. I love it when I can see stuff in the map. Yeah, my build style is a bit boring. I'll link something in the description which I've just seen yesterday, which is an absolutely amazing city-style landscape done satisfactorily by a lady called Sarah. You definitely should watch that. It's mind-blowing. I will never do that because that means this is way too much work. And it contradicts anything about efficient industrial building, but it is eye candy poor. So I highly suggest have a look in the description for that one. I covered it all up, again with the upside down mod, the green surface, and decoration mod, some vegetation on top, because I really like it when my buildings are fitting into the landscape. And that's why when you fly by now, it looks kinda alright-ish. Even while there are not much cosmetics in the facade. Now in the overview. You really need to do the full MAM for modular reactors, including the steam one, even if you don't want to do steam. The full MAM for modular reactors. And you need the modular reactor beta shielding for the MK3 shielding without your coolant goes out of the roof. First have a look on the reactor. You see the reactor is receiving DT reactor core, water and reactor coolant. The DT reactor core is a result of advanced reactor casings, which then here get filled with the DT blender. You see it is a loop. So the advanced reactor casing comes out of the reactor later on. So there's no need to set up an automation like here. That's a complete waste. You could have just an assembler somewhere punch in 2 storages, fill it with heavy modular frames and crystals, and just ensure you have enough advanced reactor casings ready to start the circle. And then as soon as the loop runs, it's fire and forget. The DT blend now is used to fill the advanced reactor cores to become DT reactor cores. Reactor casings, I mean. And that happens here in the blender. Liquid deuterium and liquid tritium are being blended together to become DT blend. Liquid deuterium is done with limestone, bauxite and water. Let's have a look. Here we go to the blenders. And there's here already the bauxite line, water, and there is here limestone. Well, that's an easy setup. And that's why bauxite was important for all this. Liquid tritium, or however you want to pronounce it, liquid tritium is from sulfuric acid. You know that one from already from other jobs. It's sulfur and water. And the liquid tritium is adding next to the sulfuric acid, here the pipe in yellow, is adding limestone in refineries. With that, we have the 2 main ingredients for DT blend. Now let's have a look for the coolant side. We had one refinery doing the reactor coolant, one refinery doing the cloudy coolant, delivering it to reactor coolant. And here we have the coolant power, that's coolant powder, which is done in a manufacturer. And that again needs bauxite, limestone and coal. Yeah. Bauxite, limestone and coal for the coolant power. In my case here, one manufacturer was enough. I do not know how all the stuff is when you build it at the end of the die. So this is the overview. And I've done it all just for this one ring, which I demonstrated to you to find out how does it actually work. What I missed out is something Mr. Trizzle shows very nicely. Have a look on YouTube for Mr. Trizzle. He is doing videos like this one, a bit more on the academic side. Not really talking much about percentage, how much, but it explains very much in detail the idea, and he shows that you can build actually towers out of this modular reactor stuff. I mean, the name is a bit of a giveaway. Modular reactor means we can put it together modularly, and stack them up. I completely forgot about that, so you can try that. Maybe get much more energy out of that. Maybe you then have even enough steam to do something with the steam, which didn't work in my case. So there are definitely opportunities to enhance it, but I really can't tell you how much you need of what to make it fly when you have multiple modular reactor rings that are stacked on top of each other. So with that, you got some ideas. I think it's fun to take this one, and cheers.